Having more by doing less. Today, we're going to be talking about Stoicism and how to not try and race through life. I'm sure you know the old analogy of the tortoise and the hare, and there's a reason why the tortoise wins. So, today, we're going to talk about that in all aspects of life so that you can better navigate as your life goes on.
Strong and wild, we rise up high. Conquer fears, won't let them reside. Heartbeats pound as we take the dive. Living now feels so alive. Heart steel veins glowing bright. Fitness gone in the dead of night. Fading game, we got the sight. Crushing finance, career out of sight. Man up now, we own it true. Breaking change, just me and you. Success stories everywhere. Living life beyond compare.
What is going on, everybody? This is a fun topic today. I've been doing a lot of research on addiction recently, and when I was doing that research, I started to dive into like the different avenues. Guys, so like when you think of like gambling addiction, people go ahead and they overextend, and even when they win, they want to keep going, 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 and they keep going until they burn. They go all the way to the point where there's a punishment. When you think about other types of addiction, think about like alcoholism. You keep drinking, drinking, drinking until you pass out. And so it just made me think, and especially this has been a huge shift that's occurred for myself, at least over the um, past year or so, is kind of like pumping the brakes and slowing things down. That's why I use the tortoise and the hare example there, because when you go at the right pace, everything works itself out. We can't be too eager. We can't just immediately need something because it just that's not how life works. So join with me today. We've got Kevin and Josh, my right-hand men at the Men of Now. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I love this topic. It's stoicism and doing less to have more is something that's confusing to some people, especially stoicism, because some people misinterpret the meaning of it like a Sigma type guy, but remaining calm when everybody else is losing their shit is a trait that many men have a hard time mastering. So I think it's a good topic that we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Josh, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. I'm glad that you guys are doing good too, and glad to be here as always. Yeah, I like this topic a lot. It's definitely something near and dear to me because I started getting into it and studying it pretty profoundly in high school. Because it's always interesting to see the separation and mastery of your mental state from your emotional state, and so understanding those two concepts as different yet intertwined things is kind of the grip, the starting point to really get to walk through all the different steps. We'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. So I'm excited to talk about this topic.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So before we dive into anything specific, just to define what Stoicism is. So I just looked up like a specific definition, and essentially Stoicism, it's an ancient philosophy of living a more simple life. And it's about putting aside the strong emotions that you have. Now, when I think of Stoicism, at least in my realm, being a dating coach, I think about the inner conflict that occurs during relationships. And it's interesting because I was thinking back. I watched this police body cam video today, and it almost gave me chills because the girl was speaking exactly the way that my ex used to. And she was doing a lot of switching. My ex was borderline. And so there's a lot of intense emotions, immediate pullback. Like there's a chaos going on inside in the brain. And one of the things that I thought was fascinating, and I got to give that guy a pat on the back. He was handling it so well. He handled it better than I ever did. I started to allow those fights to get to me. So I was always like ready for it. I was ready to dive into the fight. And I was mentioning to my girlfriend when I showed her the video too, when she came home from work, I explained to her that during that relationship, I ended up towards the end of it, because of all the stress it was causing, I ended up gaining like 40 pounds. Like I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror. It was absolutely absurd. And so seeing how stoic the guy was, the boyfriend in this video, was admirable. I wish I was better at that younger when I was in this situation. But that's really what Stoicism is. It's being able to take a step back and make sure that you're making the right move given the circumstances that you're currently experiencing. So there are so many different ways to look at this. I know I threw out initially the gambling one, and I find that, I mean, just to touch on it briefly, and then we'll go around the horn on some thoughts you guys got. But even just originally using that example, um, every time a gambling addict or somebody who does compulsive gambling, once they win, it's not enough. And then they keep going. And as they keep going, then, oh crap, I ran out of my bankroll. Okay, I need to pull out more cash and throw it in. That's why I put here too, because in a certain sense, some of the stock market and crypto is gambling. So I put this chart as the backdrop for this because a lot of people, okay, let's say you put $100 into a meme coin, it goes to zero, and then you're just like, oh my god, you're freaking out. It's like, I just threw away $100. Okay, then you pull out another $100 from your savings, that goes to crap. Then you pull out another $100 and you keep going. And so that's what I really want to focus on today is understanding, okay, having more by doing less. By not chasing a dragon, you can actually live a better, more fruitful life. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, it's a good example where you're talking about like investing, right? Because having stoicism when investing is going to be critical to your success because it allows you to look at things objectively rather than getting caught up in sort of the hype or the feeling, right? Like, so when you put $100 in and it goes down to like $3, right? Preventing yourself from pulling completely out because hey, it's not really a loss until you realize it. But also, staying disciplined where if you put in $100 and something goes up to $1,000, knowing that you should probably take out like $900 rather than, waiting for it to go to $10,000, right? So, maintaining that discipline is key and critical, but you have to remain stoic if you want to be successful in investing. And the most successful investors are very, very stoic, right? They practice stoicism. They very, very much focus on, okay, let me look at where things are objectively. Let me detach the emotions from it. Yeah, once I come out the end result, and I've made a great gain and I've pulled it out. Okay, yeah, now I can have, the emotions, I can celebrate, I can do all that stuff. But while I'm in that trading zone, I can't have those emotions in there because they're going to completely get in the way and they're going to cloud my judgment and they're not going to lead to the outcomes I'm looking for, whether they're going to influence my decision to freak out and panic and realize a loss that I probably shouldn't, or to, not take advantage of a great gain because I'm really trying to ride out and like, wait for it to go even further. So maintaining that discipline of like, hey, here I set my numbers. Here's where I absolutely pull out at this number. Here's where, on the high and the low side. And then again, just being non-emotional about it. That's the way that you're going to get ahead.
No, I love that. What are your thoughts?
I do like that. I'm glad you brought up emotion because a lot of, especially men, they think when they start trying to dabble in being stoic or using stoicism as their mannerism, they think it's, it's something that you, as a man, you have to be emotionless. And it's not the case. Keeping your emotions in check, keeping your emotions calm, I think is more important. And I want to give you an example of where I saw this is a few months back, I had a flat tire on my car, and I drive a sedan, so it only came with a donut. And I'd ordered another tire. I knew it was coming in that day, but a girl at work, she was walking to her car and she came back and she looked at me and she was like, "You're going to be very mad." I was like, "What do you mean?" And she pointed to my donut. It had went flat. And I knew the tire was coming in. I knew my dad could bring it to me if I needed. And so I just looked at it and I said, "Well, nothing you can do about it. Just fix it." And she just looked at me and said, "Wow, you handled that a lot better than I would have." And so that's a way that you can see how controlling your emotions, not getting mad, kicking your car because the tire went flat. Because when you think about it, what I said was all you could do. There's nothing I can do about it. I didn't make it go flat, but the only thing I can do is fix it. And remaining calm in situations like that is always going to get you a lot more respect from the people that are around you. Paul Bauer, a good friend of ours over at Come On Man podcast, he I don't know if he was getting it from establishing a dominant masculine presence from Thor, but he said the man that can remain calm in tough situations, situations that might bring emotions out in some other people, the man that can remain calm will always get more respect. So always keep that in mind when something unfavorable is happening, to remain calm. And it's a hard trait to learn, especially if you have high emotions. Like when I was younger, I was terrible at controlling my emotions. But as I've gotten older, I see the benefit, not only for the respect that I get from the people around me, but for my own well-being as well, to not let every little thing put me into a tailspin that's not going to help solve it.
That is a fantastic point, and I've seen it a lot in my own life as well, especially recently. And I thought about it a lot more too. And I want you guys to thought about this: Stoicism in the workplace. So there are sometimes people that you work with that can piss you off or may do something wrong, and you feel accountable. I know for a long time, I cared so much about doing the best job possible and doing everything as soon as possible. But then at the end of the day, the company doesn't care about you. The people at the company may care about you, but the company does not care about you. And once I really kind of internalized that, it's like, I just need to do what I'm supposed to do. And I can go above and beyond, but I don't need to rush. That's what changed everything. Because I used to be the type of person, if my boss said something to me, like, let's say you get an email after hours, hey, and maybe they're just sending it to you just to like get it out of their head and make sure it's in writing for you to look at the next day. But instead, you think you got to do it right away, and then you're wasting time rushing through it. Or even any other types of tasks where you're trying to rely on other people, you just get incredibly impatient. Well, as soon as I started my own business, I realized what it really is like being a manager of a lot of different people. And everybody has different work styles. Everybody gets things done at different paces. And that's why you don't task people with things they can't get done in the time frame that you need it. Like once I kind of switched to actually like being the boss instead of the employee, I saw how ridiculous it was of me obsessing. And I don't know if that's just the culture of America and what they teach in schools that forces you to be that way, to be the best. But as soon as I realized that, and I kind of took myself and put myself on the other side of the whole thing, that kind of shifted for me. I don't know if you guys, I know you guys have gone through different experiences like that, but when you think about like work, do you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Like keeping a pace?
Well, I mean, it's important to exercise that stoicism in the workplace because one, you can come across somebody that's unpleasant to deal with or whatnot, and of course, if you blow the whole thing up, that leads into an HR situation, and then suddenly not a fun time, right? And especially when you realize and think back and like, okay, yeah, like, is it worth losing my income over something that in the grand scheme of life is relatively trivial? Two, though, what it does is it also helps you with, managing your workflow. It's especially helpful in, positions like sales or anything where you're on the income generation side of the equation, because, you have quotas, or you have certain deadlines, you have things that you have to get done, things that, are going to require you to be on them. And there's going to be metrics that are going to need to be met. So, maintaining a very calm, sort of more emotionally detached, ethos about yourself when you're going about and getting your work done does help you make you a lot more efficient, and does help make you with your decision making ability. So, to your point, you're going to work with all sorts of different people from all sorts of different backgrounds and sorts of different situations and scenarios. So, it's very, very helpful if you can maintain sort of that more sort of kind of stoic professional demeanor. That will get you a lot further and help you get things a lot done more efficiently and effectively, no matter what your role is in any organization, versus you're that person that, again, like overly reacts to things. So again, in Stoicism isn't saying emotions are bad. It's just more about, hey, how do you manage those emotions and not let them get in the way or trip you up?
Yeah, and I have to say with this whole thing too, the person who's like the eager beaver and is always, and it wasn't until I had my first employee that was like this, where they're constantly like trying to do more and getting things done as fast as possible, and like it gets annoying. It pisses people off, and I never like understood that dynamic. When I think back to like my last job, I had a counterpart that I worked with, and they did not do as good of work as me. They did things a lot slower. They were, quite frankly, they were a fucking idiot. I'm not gonna lie. And it just was frustrating that like I was getting in trouble about certain things. Like I was turned into a scapegoat. It was retarded. We got a new boss, and they ended up throwing me under the bus for their mistake. But there's a whole other story. But I always thought about it. I was like, this guy doesn't do anything. How is he still here? And it's because of the way that he always consistently and constantly presents himself to everyone. And then once I really internalized it, I was like, huh, wow. I cannot believe I didn't know this before.
Yeah.
And, Stoicism helps with like that projection of reliability, right? Where it's like, hey, they know if I can set my watch to you showing up, getting your stuff done, and you're, professional through and through, day in, day out. It's extremely helpful. And that's why, for me, I first started learning in getting into this during high school, right? Which can be for a lot of people a very emotionally charged time. But, playing sports and athletics, right? It came in handy a lot, especially with like, with dealing with pressure and high pressure situations where, hey, the game's on the line, or you're behind, or X, Y, or Z, and not getting so caught up in it, and just kind of thinking back to, okay, I'm feeling this. Let me process it, so that way, it doesn't make me too nervous, or I winds up leading to make a mistake. It's like, okay, in this situation, here for a reason, I can handle it. So, for me personally, that was the background use case was like, hey, I like sports, but you're in front of a bunch of people, your friends are watching everything, right? And then there's a lot that's on the line, like coaches like watching, right? They could get mad, teammates are depending on you for X, Y, and Z. And so, just sort of dealing with that feeling of like, anxiety or overexcitement or any of that other type of stuff. That's where, for me, led me down the path of like studying Stoicism. And that just kind of carried through to all other avenues in life. So it's always interesting how people start their journeys there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kevin, I want to ask you, unless you get something directly on your mind, I wanted to ask you, because you're military, you have to be stoic. So I want to hear about your experience with this whole type of thing.
Well, see, that's the thing, because I was going to bring that up. All those years of active duty I did, especially coming up through the ranks, I saw several different leadership styles, and I was always more impressed about that platoon sergeant or squad leader before I became one that could handle all the things that came down the pipe that we didn't want to have time for, or didn't have time for, that could remain calm. And this is how we're going to get this done. This is how you're going to do this. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then we'll come together. If you need help, let me know. And then there's other leaders that I have that would say, You know what to do, get it done. And if you don't, X, Y, and Z is going to happen to you. And then halfway through it, they're throwing things, they're getting mad for no reason, really. And I always respected the leaders that remained calm and was in there with you. And as I became a leader and a senior NCO, I took a little bit of everything from the people that were above me as I was coming up. And I always used the example when I was in a tight situation or something was going on, especially when I was a recruiter, that I used the example of the leader that could remain calm under all situations and not get mad and yell. And I think that made me a better leader. But in the Army, especially in recruiting, because not many people ask to be a recruiter, you come down, it's called a special duty assignment. In that atmosphere, I mean, toxic leadership wasn't only accepted, it was almost encouraged by some of the people. And I found really early on that didn't make me want to go out and talk to more people. That didn't make me want to go set more appointments. But when I had the leaders that were calm and said, okay, this is what we may be doing wrong, let's try to figure that out, let's run through scenarios, I always learned more. And I went home with a better attitude than the guy that was just losing his shit because we only put 3 people in that month, not 5 like he wanted. So it's something that you can learn from other people. But if you find that you're more impressed by the leadership style that can be stoic, try to mimic that. And even you can put yourself in different scenarios in your head and basically rehearse how you're going to react to it. And it's not just for work, because for work, you got to realize not everybody thinks like you, not everybody works like you, even though you're on the same team. Everybody does something different. So to get frustrated by someone else because they're not doing it the way that you would do it or you would want them to do it, that's a waste of your time. But you can use it in all aspects of life. Imagine, okay, if your girlfriend or your wife starts acting a certain way that would normally want you to start raising your voice, maybe start throwing out insults and make ad hominem remarks instead of rehearse in your head, how were you going to do that and how you're going to remain calm.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I think that's a really good transition into talking about relationships, because I was almost thinking of it in a different way. When you're just starting to get into a relationship, if you get like super attached and you're texting her all day, every day, and you're so excited that, oh, I finally got this beautiful girl like interested in me, you're gonna scare her away. That's another form of this stoicism we're talking about. Having more by doing less. Why is it that you a lot of times see a guy who you think is the most, I saw this in high school all the time, a guy who is the most boring guy in the world that I can't even hang out with, yet somehow he has the hottest girl as his girlfriend? Like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't really do anything. But there's something to that.
They have other attributes.
Yeah.
Where it gets out.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Josh.
Well, I think for a lot of guys,
I mean?
especially in that aspect, is scarcity mindset that a lot of guys have.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might go 6 months without even having a date, and then you find a chick that wants date number 3. So you think, holy shit, I've got to do everything possible to keep this chick enchanted and aroused and interested in me. And like you said, you do too much.
Well, again, the other side of the equation is that it's just, when it comes down to how you compose yourself, right? Because, when everyone going out, girls, I'm just like, hey, I don't argue. I don't have arguments. Like, all right, we may disagree on something, and yeah, I might feel frustrated at certain things, but I don't vent that. I go very stoic, and that works super well, where it's just like, hey, look, I don't argue. So, and again, you got to be that counterbalance, because one, if you're trying to play the emotional game, they're far superior at it. Well, you'll lose 10 times out of 10. right? But the secondary part is that, again, as a guy, right, it's not a good look, and it can lead to some really, really bad situations for yourself if you're overly emotional, overly reacting. Yeah, again, there's nothing wrong. We're human. We're going to feel these different things. But again, the way in which we process these, and again, how many guys would, not wind up like in jail or in really bad situations because they had just stayed calm, right? They didn't lose their temper, right? But instead they're out, getting into this fight, arguing, making a big scene. And again, it doesn't matter, what the real root cause of it, right, or what started it all, right? When people from the outside objectively just show up, right, and they see two people getting into it, if you're the guy in that situation, 90%, 95% of the time, they're just looking at you like, all right, like clearly this guy's unhinged, right? So, that's where Stoicism can be extremely helpful for you guys in your personal relationships. Because again, it just will keep you from, drowning in that sea of emotion. And the analogy I like to use is that, hey, we're guys, we're like the trainers at SeaWorld, right? We need to stay on that solid land, right? That's where we got to be. Girls, they're like orcas. And if they're in the ocean, they're swimming around. So if you get into that emotional ocean, they're going to swim circles around you. They're going to drown you. They're going to like play around like it's not your element. You cannot win in that environment. So really, what you have to do is you have to stay planted on, hey, you're solid ground. And again, that will get you through the storm and see you through it, and you'll both be better off for it. But it can be hard a lot of times for guys, right? Because it's like, they want to react, or they want to be spiteful, or they want to be like, hey, this, and this. But Stoicism really, really helps you rein all that in. And at the end of the day, people have a much higher degree, including in relationships. You get a lot more respect because it's like, hey, I can throw a hissy fit or X, Y, or Z, but I don't knock you off course, right? You still stay on course, still stay on purpose. And at the same time, you just show that you have true mastery over yourself, right? So as they say, master your emotions or they'll master you.
Yeah, it's mastery of the self, as well as mastery of being able to adjust to any given situation. It's funny. I shared this with you guys the other day. I'm going to share it again. Kanye's kind of fallen off. As much as I love the guy and I love a lot of his music, I shared this with you guys. This is not emotional control, and he's doing it. Yes, I get he's doing it for attention. But it's because he's still butthurt about everything that went on before. I mean, heck, you saw him at what was it, the Grammys, where he had his new wife show up essentially nude, and the guy's on Twitter saying, "I'm a Nazi. I turned down 3 photos this week with Make-A-Wish kids in wheelchairs." What are we doing? Because he has these emotional meltdowns. I understand he's bipolar. That's a part of it. That's what makes it more difficult for him. But this is the type of example. So when I think of like past relationships or past any past situation in life, it's easy to get overwhelmed. But when you don't get overwhelmed, you take that deep breath and you realize that this too shall pass. And you set up a plan on how to achieve that, everything works itself out. There was a situation that I had with work not too long ago where I was freaking out. I was absolutely freaking out, and I felt like I had to do something immediately. Instead, I actually took 2 hours to myself so that I was completely detached from the freak out emotion and thought logically about it, and then everything was fine. And the more that I practice that, the better my results are. The more, as you were saying before, Josh, the more reliable people see you, and just the overall success of my own life just goes up. And it really is a wild thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place, right, for extreme emotion, right? So,
Right.
like if your life's in danger, right? Yeah, don't be stoic and get eaten by the bear. Like that's not what we're saying here. But for most situations in your day-to-day life, a little bit of degree of stoicism can really go and have a very profound effect and help you get a lot further. But again, we kind of live in our modern society. We're a little bit more based on, hey, how's everybody feeling? How's our emotions doing? Like, we're, being a little bit too forthright with like, just letting emotions do what emotions do. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with feeling the emotions, but again, how do we process them and channel them into constructive purposes versus, destructive purposes? And that's why, again, a lot of young guys, right, are either, in jail in the morgue or in serious trouble or severely ruin their lives, is because they don't have that, emotional control and the ability to channel that in a constructive way. So like a good example of this was I was out with a good friend of mine. And so we were waiting for a couple of our friends of ours, and they were going to do a DJ set. And so we're talking to a couple girls, and we're like, all right, cool. We're having like a good time. And so this like dude comes over, and he's like kind of clearly like a little bit in a bad mood, but he comes over, and so like he says something to one of the girls, and it's like his girlfriend, right? So I'm like, okay, I think that's they got a little something going on. But be friendly, whatever. Try to diffuse the situation. So I'm like, hey, new person. So like, hey man, like pleasure to meet you, right? And extend out my hand. The dude just like kind of looks at my hand and then just like scoffs off, and then like proceeds to like start talking to his girl. And then after like a good like 30 seconds, they like wander off. So my friend was with me, and he was like, dude, like, did you not see that? Like, I was ready to fight and ready to go. And I was like, well, I don't know if this guy's got a gun, a knife, if he's got friends, what the situation or scenario is. And also too, clearly he's not mad at me. He's mad at his girlfriend. So I'm going to let him have that negative interaction, channel that negative energy over there. They can have their fight or whatever. That's got nothing to do with me. I'm not going to let, 0.5 seconds of unpleasantness and slight disrespect like ruin my entire evening, because I like going to this spot. I'm not trying to get into fights. I'm not trying to wreck my evening, whatever. And then, it passed and moved on. But again, if I wasn't stoic and I didn't have that emotional control, that would very easily be like what's up, dude? Like, you're too cool to like say like hi or whatever. And then next thing you know, like we're getting into something. And again, who knows where it could lead or where it could escalate to. So that was a situation of like, hey, all right, cool. You're not mad at me. You're mad at your girlfriend. Go be mad at her, and you guys can have your fight, your argument. I'm not messing up my good time because, you're in a bad place. But again, that comes from like having some stoicism. Now, if he, shoves my friend or like shoves me or gets in my face, okay, that's a different scenario. But again, the choice right there was pretty easy, where it's like, okay, cool. Like, he's pissed off in a mood, doesn't want to talk to me. Okay, great. Go off, do your thing. Like, means nothing to me.
Yeah. It didn't affect you in any way, but if it would have taken to the next level of getting into a fight, you might wake up with a black eye. You might end up in jail or worse, somebody. And that's where a lot of, especially young men, and I was guilty of this too when I was younger, when it comes to women. Okay. If you're out with a chick, and especially if you're at a bar, there's going to be probably drunk guys there, and they might make a comment or something like that. Like, hey man, your girl's hot, and a lot of guys just think, okay, now it's time to fight. For one, okay, girls are not attracted to that. A guy that'll pop off because another guy made a comment. The best thing you can say is like, yeah, man, I know she's lucky to have me, and turn around and walk off, because that basically just shut him down. And then now he's standing there looking stupid in front of all his friends because he tried to make a comment, try to make you look silly or stupid. But I've talked to several women about this. How do you feel when you see a guy fight? And they're like, usually it scares me, especially if he beats the hell out of this other guy just for making a comment. It scares the shit out of me. So what is he going to do when he gets mad when we're around? So a lot of young guys make that mistake of letting another guy that you probably don't even know get under your skin enough to where you want to take it to violence, and thinking that that's macho or that's cool. If it's in a protective environment, like say a guy comes up and grabs your
it's situation specific, right? Because if you just like for no reason, because yes, violent men are sexy to women. That's reality. Like, we all know that, we all accept that. But violent in the right times, it's the same thing as a girl wants a guy that could cheat on her but doesn't.
But it's also too, you gotta like, and you gotta understand the like nature of violence, right? Because if you've ever experienced real violence, like I've been in situations before where, again, seeing two guys get into a fight, one guy ends up dead, all because someone stepped on someone's shoe, right? It's like it's a scuffed shoe and somebody's dead. Like, that was in no way, shape, or form remotely worth it, right? Or get severely injured or put in the hospital, things like that. Again, over like the dumbest stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but to your point, Huds, right? It's like, hey, look, if they're trying to carjack you, right, and you defend yourself, absolutely, right. That's the time and the place. So, a lot of times though, is that again, a lot of guys are too not emotionally controlled enough. So the smallest spark starts setting them off. And the thing is that, the reflection that you're putting out to the world is that you're unstable, right? You're unhinged, right? And so that's another thing, is that a lot of times you're going to deal with individuals that are like that. What are they trying to do? They're trying to bring you into their world, right? And your job is like, hey, stay out of their world because you don't want to be there.
What is Kanye doing right now? He's trying to bring other people into his misery by causing drama and saying the most outlandish things possible over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Don't let that happen.
Another story about that,
sad, especially for Kanye, because he was at the top of his game. I mean, he's still one of the best producers, a really great rapper, but his outside antics makes him look like a fool.
Again, he's drawing it up for attention because it can work for him, right? He's in that creative field. He can cause extreme polarity, and that can actually work for him super well. But for the average person, that's not happening. They're just gonna think, all right, dude, you're just crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it is interesting, but I've had those scenarios before. And one of them was I was in a car, right? I'm and happened to be in a Lamborghini. I'm at a stoplight. And
it just happened. I just happened to be in a Lamborghini. All right, go on.
One of these times, but kind of hear this guy that like looks a little homeless, like he's kind of like off his head, but he's just like kind of yelling and talking, whatever. Then he starts yelling a bunch of like racial slurs, and I like kind of like turn and look a little bit. I can see he's looking directly at me. So then he starts walking across the street as traffic is coming across, right up to the car. So now I'm like, all right, if he gets here, like he gets to a certain distance, I gotta leave out of this car and just like handle business. But he like stops like right like about 5 feet from the car, yells some more stuff, kind of spits in my direction, and then like kind of walks off. But that was another situation where it's like, okay, like I could either try and enter this guy's world, because I was talking to a friend about it. It's like, dude, why didn't you say X, Y? It's like, dude, I'm not going to enter this guy's world because A, clearly he needs some help. But B, clearly anybody that's like walking through oncoming traffic, not afraid to get hit by cars, coming to me, trying to challenge me to some type of altercation, like that's not a person you A, want to mess with, but B, I've got everything to lose and he's got nothing to lose or gain, right? So it's just it's a no-win scenario. So, it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, look, thankfully by just kind of ignoring and just like chilling in my thing, all right, cool, let him yell, get his whole thing off and over with. And then, he had his good day, or a light turned green, I blasted off, so it's like a slightly unpleasant time. But again, I know a lot of guys that, they would have handled it very differently, where they've been like, what are you trying to say to me? Hop out of the car. And it's like, dude, like, understand, people are trying to rile and get this out of you. And more often than not, it's people that have nothing to lose. And you have so much more to lose than this other person. It's like,
I'm just thinking about this right now, like, because this is like such a dumb story, but this was years ago. I was at a gosh, I'm like trying to recall like how to even describe this. It was in an office park for some reason. There was this strip club, and I hadn't been to a strip club in a while, so I was like, all right, like I'm not from this area. Why not? Like, let's try it out. I'm never gonna be here again. And so I went with my girlfriend at the time, and all was good. I was having a hell of a lot of fun. Really enjoyable time all the way around. That place was awesome. It was like in this building, and then you walked down the stairs so that they were able to expand it to be like a warehouse half underground. So they were able to make it like so much bigger than the space actually was. And it was like when you imagine the stripper poles that go all the way up like 25, 30, 50 feet, whatever. I'm not good at measurements, but it was massive. And the whole thing was amazing. And then at the end of the night, I made some like comment, like a joking comment to somebody. And then he got pissed off, and literally all I did was like, dude, like it just was a joke. Like, I'm sorry. I'm like not trying to start a problem. He ended up pushing me from the chest, and I fell backwards down concrete stairs, and I hit the exact back of my head right here. in that moment, and it was bad because it was a serious concussion, and things that happened afterwards. I was completely emotionally dysregulated for a while, and it probably has changed my brain forever. But I'm fortunate that that's all it was. I could have lost my vision, and I also very well should have and could have died, all because I engaged after something. It was just a passing thing. I literally bought a hot dog. They had, I don't know why, they had a hot dog stand, like a
Hot dog
food
at the
truck
strip club.
outside.
Bro, that's
It was
Yeah,
great. Dude, it was so good. But I literally was getting it was the end of the night, getting a hot dog and leaving. And just one joke about the situation that was occurring, he got pissed off about for some reason. And by even trying to calm him down instead of just moving forward, that's how I ended up. So you never know, like when sometimes when people are really, really heated up, whether like, because you would think that it would be rational, yes, calm the situation. Sometimes it's better to just remove. It's better not to
Oh,
even
yeah.
be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. I want to circle back to something you said earlier, Alex, about, what women find attractive in a dangerous man. And yeah, when they know you can protect them, that really is an attractiveness. But if you go out there starting shit with everybody that looks at you wrong, or you feel like they look at you wrong, or they make a certain comment, women don't like that. That's scary to them. And the man that can de-escalate, especially misunderstanding, like you said you were having, Huz, in the correct way, and walk away, leaving that guy standing there with his thumb up his ass, is the best way to do it. But that's why I wanted to bring up another thing. It's really good for men too. Like, yeah, going to the gym, of course, that's going to help with your blood pressure. That's going to help remain calm. But getting into a combat sport like boxing or jujitsu, once you start learning that and you start getting better, you do have a certain amount of time where you're like, okay, I'm really good at this. I've got a good rear naked choke. Got 3 guys in the armbar today. You'll be more apt to engage when you probably shouldn't. However, once you get good enough to where you can just look at a guy that's trying to be foolish, like you said, Josh, the guy in the street, where you can put this guy to sleep, where you can seriously injure this person, you become less apt to use it. So that's why it's good to get into things like that. So that way you can protect yourself. So that way, if somebody does enter your space, you can put it down. But you're not letting every little thing bother you to think that, okay, the only way I know how to prove myself is through violence and see if I can kick this guy's ass. And so that's why I encourage, men out there, if you got a jiu-jitsu school around, you don't have to be perfect, but it's a great workout.
And it's a great brotherhood too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you'll find some of those guys that can literally kill you are some of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. And you'll make good friends, and then you'll learn something good in the process that can help you. But then it doesn't just help you defend yourself. It helps you de-escalate the situation, because a lot of those guys, when they go out, people don't notice their cauliflower ears. People don't see that their knuckles are rounded because they've been, punching bags for 20 years. So those guys know that they can fucking kill you. So if you want to better yourself and learn how to be more stoic, get into something like that for a little while. It's not going to hurt you. It's never going to be a negative to not only go to the gym, but then get into something combat sports, whether it be boxing, jiu-jitsu, even karate. If it's something you want to do, but then it gives you a lot more look on life that, okay, with this person's trying to start violence, there's no reason to do it.
But also just it teaches you like discipline, right? Because in order to move up the ranks, you have to maintain a certain level of discipline. And again, the big thing is that, again, no matter how great a jiu-jitsu fighter or anything you are, like, one, you can't jiu-jitsu your way out of a gun, right? It's not like the movies, right? We're going to do like some Aikido move and then, okay, now you have it, right?
Wait. You
Steve
can't?
Carl would disagree.
But two, that's the other thing too, is that, again, when you're going into especially a scenario on the street, right, there's just too many unknown variables, right? You don't know if this person, right, has 5 friends that all of a sudden are taking a very active interest in, like, what is going on in the situation. So, it's always best to maintain that discipline so you don't get into these situations, because again, prevention is always the best cure. Because again, there's just on the street, there's too many unknowns. Like, this guy could have a knife, he could have friends, he could have whatever. Or, okay, cool, you get into your little scuffle, you do whatever, and then again 2 weeks later, he's out with his buddies and sees you, and then it's like, oh, I remember that's the guy that embarrassed me last week. So it's always best to.
Oh, dude, I swear. That is such a good point, because there was a local bar when I was going through the process, like the becoming better with the dating, and I went out solo one night a week, either every Friday or Saturday for a year, just by myself. And that is so true. And there's certain groups that, like, you get a scuffle with, then when they see you again, like, it's like they come after you, and then you've got like 4 guys yelling at you. And I've had to leave, actually, because I had to step away from the situation. And it's like, you guys are fucking ruining my night, but I know that if I even engage here, this is going to get worse. And it was always over something fucking stupid, probably hooking up with a girl that they liked like the previous week or whatever. So you're absolutely right with that. Like, you never know, because people do travel in packs. They have groups, they have friends. So when you mess with a group, I know, especially here, I mean, you guys see how crazy Philly is. We travel in packs. It's the way it works. So if you piss one person off, you may have 3 more coming back with him very shortly thereafter. And so it's very important to understand having more by doing less. Don't get involved. Don't get involved with it.
Yeah.
Way to tie back into the title. I like that. That was good.
Hey.
No, and it's true. And that's why being able to control your emotions and being stoic in any situation is so important, especially for a man. Just not only for your physical well-being, we talked about fighting, but your own mental well-being as well. Good book that I've had for a long time has a great chapter, Manage the Fucks You Give. And if you start thinking in that way, do I really give a fuck about this guy that's talking shit over here? Even if we do fight and I win, what have I gained? Nothing. But even if I lose, what has he gained? Nothing. But learning how to be, I mean, I don't really like the old, I don't want any trouble, man. Because that's kind of bitching out. But I mean, if somebody's in your face and they're saying stupid shit, just all you gotta do is look at them and say, I hope you're happy with yourself, man. You don't even know me, and you just call me every name in the book. Does that make?
But those could be fighting words. It depends on the situation.
Well, that's fine. And if it escalates to that, but I mean, just simply look them in the eye and say, do you feel better about yourself right now? And that's a good way to end it, and because it puts a ball in their court. And I've said that to guys. And a lot of times you can see it in their eyes that it just made sense. Like, oh shit, what the fuck am I doing now? And that's a good way to be stoic in a potentially violent position. And you always defend yourself. And I mean, this whole wait for them to throw the first punch, not bullshit. If somebody gets up in your face, get them out of your face, whether you have to do that with an elbow to the sternum, fucking uppercut to the chin. If they feel that they need to get right up in your face, yeah, go ahead and let it fly. But if they're just talking shit, just look them in the eye and say, how do you feel about yourself right now? You feel good about yourself? I hope you do. Stuff like that is the easiest way to remain stoic in that setting. And you can even do that in relationships. If your girl's going off and she's trying to get you on her level where she's
oh my god, yes,
all this crazy shit, all you got to do is say, what are you really mad about?
What's really going on?
Yeah, why are you mad right now?
Well, again, emotion requires like other emotion, right? Because it's like a fire, so it needs fuel. But when you're stoic, you don't give it any of that fuel, so there's nothing for it to burn. So it just fizzles out a lot more. So, that's definitely very, very true for guys. Where it's like, hey, dude, like most arguments that most guys will think back. Most arguments you got into, avoidable, very avoidable. But you reacted, right? There was an emotion there, and then just started sparking, and it gave more fuel to that fire. So just think of it that way, where it's like, hey, if you're not giving this fire any fuel, it's not gonna burn. And that's definitely relevant here for what happened in LA last month. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the last thing I was kind of thinking about, because we're coming up on the hour here, I was thinking about certain books that people can read. I know for me, I actually have The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. If you guys haven't heard of it, absolutely just buy it. What's that?
No, I said I never heard of it. I definitely
it's a
will
great
check
book.
it out.
Oh, The Daily Stoic. So it's every single day is a different lesson from history, and they all apply. And what's super weird, especially when I was working with one of our previous business partners, I would read something, and then the exact situation where I needed to apply that day's lesson occurred, and it kept happening. And it really is, it's fantastic. It's 365 lessons meant to read each and every single day. It even comes with a little bookmark so that you can track yourself and go day by day. I have to say that has been one of the most fantastic books that I've ever read. And what I think is so important about it too, I mean, when you say reading a book, it's not like, it really isn't a book. It's a everyday type of thing, but it's still a book. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, even if you're like at that point of mastery, of emotion, of stoicism, of success in life, it's a consistent reminder each and every single day. And every single story there, or every single excerpt, is only one page. So you can read that in a couple minutes. And it's absolutely fantastic. As I said, I have it next to my bed, and every single day, just keeping up with everything. Do you guys have any other recommendations for books that people can read to kind of learn some of this?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say one would be, the classic, right? Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, right? That's just fantastic.
I got that sitting next to me too.
Stood the test of time. Another great book would be Seneca. That for sure is another great book. I forget exactly who it's by, but if you look it up and Google it, it's pretty well known. It's, again, another ancient book, but there's a lot of timeless wisdom in there. And then I would probably say another really good book too would be a book called How to Make Shit Happen by this content creator, Sean Whalen, which is great. It's fantastic. It's one, super short. Two, the first edition of it doesn't even have page numbers on it. He's like, oh, that was an error, but you know what? I decided, like, hey, I'm going to roll with it. But he details a lot of really, really good stuff in that book on, one, how to forgive people that have wronged you in your life, but then two, how to focus on, again, what is really important and constructive for you, and how to really let go of negative emotions that weigh you down, right? So it's a really good book. And, the book opens and basically opens it up in details, like, hey, so yeah, I had the gun that was in my mouth and I was getting ready to pull the trigger and chickened out at the last second. And so, it kind of grabs you where it's like, okay, we're starting at his literal lowest point. And yeah, he's brutally honest about like everything that he's been through, where, he's had some highs and some extreme lows, and then how he used those to rebound to where he is today. So I definitely say that's a really, really great, fantastic read.
Yeah, I definitely want to check all those out. And, something I just thought about too, especially on the short ones, I've got that website where I can get PDF of just about every book out there. For our members, I'll put them in circle. We've already got 6 or 7 books in there right now. So I'll put them in there. So basically you'll get free access to that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what I use Circle for, is to, post stuff that is going to help our members, not just daily, rip rap type conversation. So yeah, Josh, if you will, I remember the Daily Stoic, but the other ones in our executive chat, you want to throw those in there, and I'll get them downloaded and get them in Circle here in the next couple of days.
That's fantastic. And yeah, so Josh, I'm gonna put you on the spot, because you're the most handsome guy here, and you know how to fight homeless people. Tell people about the community, and you've done such a fantastic job revamping this website here. Just go ahead and share it with everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you have any interest in, being with like-minded guys that are again, very focused on success, but not only that, but how we can all help each other out with whatever it is that we need. So, developing a very good resource network. Definitely check us out. You can go to our website, menofnow.us/enroll. And then you can register for our interest list. And then what we'll do is we'll have a little bit of a quick group interview with you just to suss out, see where you're at, see where your goals are at. And then we can go from there. But we've got a great, fantastic group of guys in there already. Group has definitely grown over the last couple of months, which has been nice to see. Definitely have some folks that are interested, and we're looking forward to growing this group a lot more throughout the year. But again, we're really focused on, all right, how can we help you get from where you are to where you want to be? As well as, for us, we have a very strong value-added network. So we're always looking for other individuals that can add great value to that network. So that's kind of the short, simple, and sweet pitch. Outside of, you just get to get more unlimited access behind the scenes with us, because we do a lot of exclusive webinars. The guys that had my access to my exclusive webinar for the community, they've all made a ton of money because we're done talking about crypto stuff.
Yes, they did.
And they all got prepared, which was very good to see and very exciting to see. So we talk about a lot of that type of stuff behind the closed curtain, but also you get, again, more direct access to, myself, HUDs, as well as Kevin in our various levels and areas of expertise. So, we want to make sure that it's for guys that are serious about their self-improvement and their journey. So this isn't the spot for the more casual kind of, hey, I just want to be here and sort of hang or whatever. It's like, no, everybody that's in there is actively putting in the work to actively improve themselves and takes their self-improvement and self-development journeys very seriously. So it's going to be for a place for serious individuals. So if you're a serious individual and it's you feel this is the right time, then yeah, come check us out. We're definitely more than happy to have the conversation and see if there's a good fit all around.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, we like Josh said, we're more serious and a little bit more well-rounded than some of the other groups out there. We don't just push one ideology. We're there to help, guide, and then learn from you as well. We've had guys join in the past that thought, okay, I'm going to join this group, and then 30 days later my life's going to change and never put in any work. So I mean, that's why we do have an interview process. We have turned people away just because we didn't think they were a good fit. So if you're interested, yeah, check us out. We'll set up a meeting and we'll see where we can go from there.
Yeah, we're also happy too, if it's not a good fit, we can find a good group that works well for you. Or
exactly. That's what I think is so. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you remember another group, again, we're more than happy to talk to you as well, because again, we love nothing more than combining and doing group community activities as well. So,
which we have done, right?
Which we've done
it a few times now.
Love that cross-pollination. So again, we're always happy and excited to see how we can, again, jointly collaborate, because no one place is going to have all the answers you're ever going to need in life. So it's really important to build out that network.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff, and I'm super excited. And Kevin, don't you have a webinar coming up sometime soon?
I do. Now, for a lot of people, it's not going to be beneficial. If you already have a brokerage account, you already know the difference between a stock and a mutual fund and an ETF. It might not benefit you, but I'm starting from the very beginning because it's brought up earlier. I am a financial coach. So I wanted to start from the very beginning of investing, how to open a brokerage account, the difference between an individual stock and a mutual fund, what an ETF is, how to invest in crypto without having to buy crypto, the basic stuff. But believe it or not, a lot of people, especially young men, don't know anything about that. So I am starting at the basics. But yeah, it will be the many ways you can invest in 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's going to be super exciting. That's coming up in a couple of weeks here. But that's kind of what you guys get here. And that's why we like to have these types of discussions. We're just trying to get better ourselves each and every single day. We're trying to get everybody else that is a part of this better each and every single day. And we want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way, which exactly as Josh said, if we can't give you the right answer, we will at least direct you to the place that you need. So definitely check us out. Go to menofnow.us/enroll, and then you can join that wait list. We'll just have a quick conversation, 10, 15 minutes. Just make sure that we're the right match, because we if we're not the right match, we don't want you to just join. Like, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste money. So yeah, no, but it's been really fantastic what we've seen, and especially the growth of the members in 2024. I don't even like recognize some of the people anymore. Just like thinking about it, how much they've grown. But no, it's been a fantastic discussion, guys. I really love this topic, and we definitely need to dive deeper into it behind the scenes. So, all right, everybody. Until next week, have a good one. We're out.